Everybody Curious acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Everybody Curious. A palm tree stands by an ocean in a tropical beach scene. The scene appears in the window of a room where Spencer sits on a couch. He picks up his phone from a table in front of him.
Hello?
Hey, where are you?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. Where are you? I'm here.
Oh, I'm at your house.
Oh, I'm at Everybody Curious Land.
Okay, I will be right there because we have got to get ourselves to the Native Canadian Centre of Toronto. So we're going to learn a little bit about Indigenous sex ed.
Okay. Just before you come, you might want to bring a bathing suit and some sunglasses.
Okay.
In a car.
We are here. Didn't need gas because electric car.
No.
But I do need you to pass me my bag.
Okay.
She takes out a water bottle.
I like to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know, gotta stay hydrated.
She takes out beanbag lips.
I love you.
Then a polka dot tie.
Oh, I think this would actually look really good on you.
Okay.
She takes out packs of condoms.
You know, I always like to be prepared. Never know where the day will take you.
Some
I
bananas.
don't know if you're hungry. Oh my gosh, where?
She takes out long pink and purple snake toys.
Give me a...
She gets a tape measure.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for change. I need to feed the meter.
Nadine, I have my accessible pass. We're VIP. Just use
Ooh,
that.
all access.
In the Native Canadian Centre.
Where are we going?
We are looking for the talking room. Oh, actually, I think it's right here.
Nadine steps in and Spencer pushes his manual wheelchair.
Hi! Oh my gosh, look at this!
Oh, hi, Spencer. Hi,
Mike was
Nadine.
hi.
How are you?
Sitting at a table, community auntie Krysta Williams, student Pearl Pheasant Dumont, and educator, artist, and auntie Denise B. McLeod.
Oh, wow. So what are you all up to here?
We're doing some beading today, and we wanted to invite you to participate.
So is beading sort of part of your culture and family?
Yeah, Indigenous
okay.
communities have been beading for a very long time, and it's a traditional activity that we're all super proud of. And
Krysta.
I know for myself, I look at something and I'm like, can I bead that? So today we decided on beading condoms.
Okay, so I've been a sex educator for a minute now, and I can promise you I have never seen beaded condom. Can I look at that?
Yeah, go for it.
And kind of goes with my outfit.
I know.
It does.
It's color coordinated.
They're beaded around the rim.
So we started doing this activity at the Native Youth Sexual Health Network in part to just make condoms less intimidating and apply something that, we know lots about to something that's a little bit intimidating to learn about.
All right, so we're gonna
If
can
you
we
want
join
to,
in?
absolutely.
Oh, amazing.
Your next step is to choose a condom color. These have all been washed and dried,
They're rolled.
Okay.
so they're not super slippery and sticky in your hands. And then you're gonna choose your colors of beads. You can do as many colors as you like, just whatever speaks to you.
Okay, you go first.
I'm feeling purple. I feel like that is a fun and sexy color.
And I'm gonna go with yellow. Ooh. And I feel like everything I know about condoms, we've done the opposite now.
Exactly. Yes. We're putting holes in them.
That's right.
But they do make for great conversation starters.
Absolutely.
So what you're gonna do, you're gonna pick it up. This will be the only time that we do this, but you're actually gonna puncture right through the rim as far as you can go. And it might take a little bit of
She shows her needle going through a rim.
effort. If you need, you can also balance your needle on your mat and then push it through that way.
Does that look all right?
Perfect, yeah. And then just pull it all the way through.
She said mine was perfect. I'm just saying.
It's not a competition.
Yet.
So now you're gonna add your beads.
They pick up beads with the tip of a needle which has a thin line at the other end.
I feel very calm right now. I'm very relaxed.
Do you usually feel calm and relaxed?
No.
So
No, I
this
do
is
not.
special, okay.
Yeah.
Denise.
When I was being taught how to bead and make crafts, I was always taught that you do it with a good mind, so you have good thoughts.
What was your experience like learning how to bead?
I was really lucky to have lots of access to lots of aunties that taught me how to do these things.
In a lot of Black cultures, including mine, there are your aunties who are actually, the sisters of your parents, but then we also have aunties who are just friends of family or just older women looking out for you. And I'm just wondering, in your community, what's an auntie?
It's kind of like the same thing. I have a bunch of aunties that were in ceremonies that just
Pearl.
will look out for me and give me advice.
I like to think of myself now as people's sex ed auntie.
Yeah.
It's definitely a kinship role. It's definitely like a cultural role. It's like a community thing. It's also about like being chosen and being a safe adult in a young person's life.
They have lots of people looking out for them, so I know that they're always safe and cared for, and I don't have to worry.
Yeah, they definitely come in handy when like things start changing, and it's often a time where young people don't want to be around their parents.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You need other people around. How are you doing over there, Pearl?
I think I made an oopsie.
Oh yeah, that's happened.
Thank you. I'm still new to beading. Y'all were asking when we learned how to bead. I just learned how to bead
You're learning.
a month ago.
Oh,
That was
wow. He's
how to do it.
literally brand new.
Yeah, my mom wasn't a beader and my sister wasn't a beader, and I've always wanted to. I just never put the time into it or didn't think about it until now.
We learn together in community. There's no such thing as an expert. Learning together is, I think, much more effective.
So can I tap into my inner 12-year-old for a moment
Please
and
do.
ask you questions that I used to have? If you want to like use a condom with a partner, how would I talk about that?
Definitely when I've done this in community, there's lots of giggles, and so y'all are being very mature. You didn't laugh when I said rim. So there's definitely lots of just introducing vocabulary. So this idea of using the vocabulary around condoms, but in a non kind of sexual space, right? So we're crafting and there isn't that pressure to think about, am I comfortable with the feeling of it in my hand? If I don't practice, I might not be able to do this by myself. And I'm gonna need to go to another person and be like, are you practiced? Can you do this? Can we do it together? And those are strategies that we know for troubleshooting actual condom use. Those are skills you need to have. You need to be able to communicate and say things out loud and have some practice.
And hearing you say that, it's comforting to my inner 12-year-old because that's just a normal part of being a human. And so immediately I feel like, oh, well, then maybe it's okay. I might want to use a condom with another person.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I find difficult as someone with disability is asking for help. But I'm curious, in the Indigenous community, what's it like for disabled folks? And specifically when we're looking at sex ed.
I think we're doing a lot of work around decolonizing or indigenizing sex ed in ways that feel good for us because there hasn't been any sex ed really that was very Indigenous specific. I grew up with a very Western shame-based sex ed, but to be able to have space where we acknowledge that sex is fun and everybody likes pleasure and that this is also an Indigenous way of knowing and being.
Even when I was growing up, they didn't really talk about sex itself. It was mostly I remember learning about periods in school, but luckily I did something like a berry fast, which is something you do as a young Anishinaabe woman. When you first get your period, you tell your grandmother and then you go on this fast where you don't eat berries for about a year, and it's about discipline, and you're basically learning how to be a woman and I wasn't supposed to wear makeup because I was just supposed to embrace my natural beauty. They also told me not to wear tampons or anything because they didn't want me to plug it up. They wanted me to just let it flow and enjoy the flowing. And then at the end of the year, I had a big coming out ceremony. You were all supposed to isolate yourself for 3 days. Yeah, so it was a really good experience and I'll always remember it, obviously.
And that really does sound very different from so much of the teaching that I'm familiar with around periods, which is very much oh, you're having your period and now it's all about discretion, how to make it as non-obvious as possible.
The school system was it was so shame-based, and also the things they did say about sex, it was it's gonna be painful for girls and you're gonna bleed and you can only lose your virginity to a guy,
One of my biggest peeves is this idea that intercourse is just painful for people with vaginas. That it's oh, well, it's just gonna hurt the first time and you just have to put up with it. And I'm but you don't, though.
I also really appreciate you talked about it's for pleasure and it's not just a man and a woman. It's for, so many different types of folks. As a queer person, I felt like that's where like the sex education failed me. I didn't understand what it was supposed to be like for me.
Doing activities like this is also about trying to connect people with their own body. Just to have a sense of a relationship to self and think about like, how do I feel about my body and what does my body like or need? What feels good to me? And like actually being able to connect with that, because then as adults, that's so much what people struggle with.
So I'm just curious, we've got aunties, and it sounds like for women, and I don't know if there's uncles or if it's even gendered that way.
Most of our nations are pretty matriarchal and matrilineal, and women are the raisers of nations. They're the first teachers of language, culture, and ceremony. You know, my kids went to their aunties if they had questions, and then it was their friends that often came to me. Because I always had like books and pamphlets and uteruses lying around the house, not real ones, like models. And so there was lots of questions about bodies that people were scared to ask their families. You know, I want to be the adult that I needed when I was coming up. Within Indigenous culture, we teach about bodily autonomy, and all humans have bodily autonomy to make the choices that they need to make for themselves, which is a very different way of parenting. You know, when you're going through puberty, it's kind of your job to focus on independence and not rely on your parents for all of your information. You know, that's how you figure out how to sort of adult in the world. That's the point of being an auntie, to teach the generation coming up that they are the experts of themselves.
That's that big auntie energy.
That's it.
I feel
the
it.
spirit of it.
I feel it. So something else that I always like to geek out on is consent, and just how different people and even different cultures approach consent.
Yeah, part of this activity is to talk about that, and is to think about consent in every facet of our community. How do we build relationships, seek and receive permission around things, and it's very much a spiritual relationship, and some ceremonial teachings about like, how do you ask somebody to do something for you? How do you do that respectfully?
And I think it's like really important that we teach our children that from a young age, and like, you don't force them to do anything you want to do just because they're a kid. Like, you don't have to hug that older auntie or older uncle just because they're your uncle, you know? Like, I was always taught that.
So part of doing this activity and talking about consent with our bodies is also connecting it to stories and histories of consent on our lands. And sometimes that means talking about the lack thereof. And so talking about agreements that we had with each other about how we were going to live historically, how those agreements broke down through colonial violence, and then now the work of reclaiming. If young people are seeing this in the media, that they can also connect it to this, right?
Okay.
That this is like, talking about our bodies and talking about our lands are intricately connected. And how can we talk about that in relationship to sexual health?
I just want to thank you for taking the time to share your culture with us and help us learn a bit more. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Now remember, if you're going to finish these and take them home, these are now artwork. You can't roll them down anything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're fashion, not function.
Perfect.
A cartoon orange penis slides into a red condom, wearing a sparkly outfit.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to everybody's favorite game show, Everybody Curious!
The others each sit in front of a toy horn.
I'm your host, Denise B. McLeod!
She takes off her sparkly jacket.
Contestants ready to win?
Oh, we're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna start with an easy question. Do you know a word in your language other than English for consent?
Krysta.
I'm going to go with Gaween. No.
You get 25 points for that. You'll get 25 points. Next question. Can you show a way to express consent other than saying yes? Nadine.
Absolutely. There's body language, there's sign language, there's like just noises in the affirmative or in the I'm interested.
I think emojis counts.
Okay, emojis. Okay, well then this goes into my next question. Who knows an emoji for sexting?
Eggplant.
Wow.
And the taco.
And a taco.
And the squirt emoji.
It is literally the squirt emoji. It's no longer like the water emoji. It is the squirt emoji.
Who thinks talking about our bodies is important? I think that was Spencer.
Well, first of all, I do. Second, the reason I think it's important is because all bodies are different. And I think it's really important that we learn to talk about them and share them and help normalize that all bodies are amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Spencer.
That was really good.
Thank you.
I'm still going to destroy you.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, last question for infinity points. Who has talked to their children or other people's children about boundaries? Oh my gosh, it was a 4-way tie. So I'm gonna start with Spencer.
Yeah, so my friends have a little boy, and every time I come over, I say, can I have a hug? And try to mirror them what consent and boundaries look like, and then they can respond yes or no.
That's fantastic, well done.
Well, I have my own kid, and we talk about boundaries all the time. Something that I like to talk about with kids is when setting boundaries can be hard sometimes, especially sometimes when you're a kid and you're trying to set a boundary with an adult. That can be scary and feel difficult. So sometimes we just talk about the feelings.
Whenever I'm with my little cousins, I always ask their permission before giving them a hug. I always just make sure to ask them like what they need and like if they need any help.
I'm a birth worker and a doula, and so sometimes people think babies can't consent, but you can absolutely treat them like cats and kind of let them warm up to you and like not be like super assertive with like wanting to hold and touch and do all these things. You can just like be chill, let people approach you, and that can set you up for much more consensual success.
So, because all of your answers were so amazing and so rooted in Indigenous ways of knowing and being, you're gonna split the infinity points.
What's infinity divided by 4?
Is anybody keeping track? Like, how many points do I have?
I don't know. We didn't hire a point taker. We're on a budget.
The contestants high-five each other.
Yes. Woo. And that's all for the Everybody Curious Game Show. I'm your favorite auntie, Denise B. McLeod. Take care, everyone. Everyone's a winner. Okay, everybody leave now.
All right, what did we learn today?
I really enjoyed learning about Indigenous perspectives on sexuality and teaching sexuality. I love that it's so rooted in like pleasure and autonomy and really helping folks to just like understand who they are and like why sex and sexuality can be like enjoyable and fun.
Back on the couch.
So today was awesome.
Yeah, and beading is now one of my new favorite things.
What else could we be, do you think?
Oh, okay, well, we could bead like, I bet we could bead one of these internal condoms.
Yeah.
Oh, we could bead a contraceptive ring. Maybe we could bead a dental dam?
Oh.
Oh, what else could we bead? Oh, we could bead some latex gloves.
Oh my God, gloves. And you could bead the fingernails maybe?
I could try.
Like different colors?
Yes, okay.
Like nail polish?
You know what? We're gonna need more beads. If you'd like to learn more about the Native Canadian Centre of Toronto or the Native Youth Sexual Health Network, check out the links in our description or visit us at everybodycurious.com.
Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Everybody Curious.
Spencer does a wheelie. Nadine does a cartwheel.
See, Spencer? I got tricks too.
She walks away. Titles. Created by Louise Pollard. Written and directed by Kim Harris. Hosts and creative consultants, Nadine Thornhill, Spencer West. Everybody Curious consultants, Denise B. McLeod, Krysta Williams. Guest, Pearl Pheasant Dumont. Everybody Curious dolls, Ginger and Blue, created by Nell Coleman. Production manager, Helene C. Valinsky. Director of photography, Colin Evans. Production designer, Diana Kubista. Closed captions, Line 21 Media Services. Described video, Power of Babel. Executive producer, Louise Pollard. Special thanks, Native Canadian Centre Toronto, Native Youth Sexual Health Network, Stella Rose and Tay Alvis, Centre for Indigenous Theatre. Special thanks, Big Auntie Energy shirts by The Res Life. Condoms provided by Gems. Special thanks, James, Dan, Tess, and Stella, Scott, Christina, Ian, and everyone at Shaftesbury. Produced with the financial participation of the Shaw Rocket Fund and the Bell Fund, funded by the Government of Canada. Albert Certified Production. Louise Pollard. EverybodyCurious.com.